I now get to do something that I've been excited about all day. We're going to turn to our next panel on food policy. Sorry, we are going to turn to our next panel on food policy and this next generation of change makers. And these are folks who literally have the power to advocate and create awareness in the palm of their hands, and they're doing it every day in really creative and impactful ways. They are 4 members of the World Food Program's the World Food Program USA's Zero Hunger Activist Council. That's a mouthful. So I would love to invite them to the stage. Maddy DeVita is a private chef, recipe developer, and content creator. Round of applause for Maddy. Manolo Gonzalez Vergara, who is a host, producer, and restaurateur.
Hi.
Hi, nice to see you. Bailey Bass is an actor, producer, and advocate, and student, and a multitude of other things. Round of applause. And Drea Okeke is a content creator, entertainer, and comedian. Please welcome her. I love this panel. I'm so excited. I've always said that one of the best parts of my job, and especially as I get older, is I get to talk to young people and feel inspired by them. So could you give them another round of applause? These are incredible folks. They're doing great, great stuff. And so I want to start with a question for you all, because I think being part of the Zero Hunger Activist Council is a really, it's a big commitment, and you all seemed really excited and happy to do it when it started in August. And I'd love to hear why you all decided to do it. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. First of all, I'm very happy to be here. It's such an honor. And of course, when I got invited to join WFP Hunger Council, I immediately jumped at it because I think about what WFP does, the impact that you guys make, this organization makes alone. For me, my family, we're really big on impact. I'm from Nigeria. My mom is right here in the front recording. Hi, Mom. And the way my mom and my family raised us is we have to be able to pour into people. If you have, give unto other people. And when we were growing up in Nigeria, we have to finish the food on our plates, because when we go to our village, we see people who have severe poverty and are hungry. And we always made a mission to share and bring people, come eat as a community. How can we help out one another? And for me, I have a platform. And it's one thing to have a platform and have the followers, but how can I make a bigger impact? And being part of this council, meeting these people are doing amazing as in their careers, to join the conversation and be able to amplify what WFP is doing is such an honor. So I'm excited. Honestly.
You were so good at sharing. I love it. That's like the core of you. I love it so much.
Thank you.
Bailey.
That was amazing, Drea. And it really shows. I think what me and Drea really connect on is growing up with not necessarily a lot of funds, but a lot of love. And being able, having that being instilled in you. I've been in the entertainment industry since I was 2, but I didn't really have a platform until I was a part of the Avatar franchise, and that kind of blew me up and gave me a really nice platform, which is really nice. And that happened 2 years ago, and I knew when that day would come, I would make a difference. I would instill change. And I was doing it little by little growing up in my communities. But now that I am able to speak at the UN, which is how the WFP found me, is because I would speak on ocean rights, and I am a climate advocate. And from that, I'm able to use my platform to really create change, but also educate people. And I think that's what I love about the WFP. You can look up WFP, you'll find out everything. You'll find out how many people they've fed in the past 10, 20 years. You'll find out how many planes they have, how many boats, their goals, how much funds they need this year or last year or the next year, what their goals are in the next 20 years. And that's something that most organizations are scared to share you. They're scared to share, and the WFP is willing to do that. And to be a part of that change is such an honor.
Thank you so much. That's great. Manolo.
Well, thank you for having me first. I'm going to be honest with you. When I got asked to join this council, I just said yes. I had no idea what it was going to entail.
I love it.
I'm just that kind of person. Somebody says, let's do it. I said, yeah, let's do it. I've gotten into trouble before. Not this time. It's working out. But, I heard the World Food Program. I thought, well, maybe they'll need help, fundraising, because they do like emergency relief, humanitarian. That's where my mind went originally. So I said, yes, sure, I'll help. I don't know how, but whatever you guys need me to do. And then I got really excited once I actually started learning about what you guys actually do aside just from the emergency relief, the education, the setting up entire, not just families and communities, but like entire countries up for food security and success. And I'm from Colombia, a country that has had its fair share of food insecurity and war and humanitarian emergency aid, and the work that you guys are doing there to make sure that these entire countries can sustain themselves is what got me excited. So I'm still, to this day, I'm still not exactly sure how I can help you guys in this amazing thing that you want to do, but whatever it is that you guys would need me to do, I am here for it.
You
100%.
have the passion, you have so much energy. It's so wonderful to see that. You have this platform.
You guys have the platform. I'm just here to do whatever it is you need me to do. So thank you for having me, honestly.
It's so fantastic. Thank you. Maddy, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. I jumped up at the opportunity to be a part of this council like faster than I really thought through it, and was just honestly completely honored to be asked. I am a private chef. Actually, today is the 1-year anniversary of when I took my very first private chefing job, and I've grown, and it doesn't need applause, I'm just sharing that for like the perspective of the majority of the following that I have today was grown over the past year, and it's incredibly new, and I'm still learning every day how to, not even how, but what to do with the platform that I now have. And when WFP came to me, I immediately was just like, yes, like these are the type of things I want to say yes to now that I have this wonderful platform that I've grown. I want to do more than sharing, I love sharing my private chefing escapades, how I went through culinary school, all of that, but how can I deepen that? And saying yes to WFP and being on this council with all these incredible other people was kind of a no-brainer. And it also felt incredibly full circle for me because I actually studied biology. I was pre-med. I studied in school, nothing to do with food. And my first job out of school for 2 years was at a global health focused nonprofit. It was focused in, healthcare and, in the humanitarian space, but not so much as food, but health. And I knew and worked honestly alongside WFP doing that kind of work. And it feels incredibly full circle to now be able to talk about the work that WFP from a place of me having a platform as someone who's also been in a field where I did the work and learned about WFP like from the ground kind of up.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And chefs, as we know from Andrew Zimmern and so many other chefs, are such great advocates for these causes. So I'm glad as a young chef you're able to do this, and it's really inspiring. Bailey, if I can come back to you, your passion, from what I understand, started on oceans and talking about the importance of them and biodiversity and really protecting our oceans. How do you use what you learned doing that to advocate for the issues that WFP USA is trying to create more awareness about?
At the end of the day, we need food. This idea that, and this is coming from someone who doesn't eat meat, the idea that everyone should just stop eating meat and that's the solution to the climate crisis, that's the solution to hunger, is just, it's not really understanding the nuances. You look at a country like Vietnam, if they stop fishing, their economy is flipped upside down. They can't just do that. That means they're relying on the ocean, they're relying on the fish. I was just a part of a documentary that's coming out next Wednesday. We're talking about coral restoration and the importance of coral bleaching and what's happening because of our ocean temperature rising due to the climate crisis. These fish, 25% of the fish in the ocean rely on these coral reefs for their ecosystem, and they're dying. That means we are losing an essential part of our food system, and that is fish.
I'm so glad you brought that up, and the blue food ecosystems are so important. And when we talk about hunger, they are not brought up often enough. We talk about farmers, and I love farmers, but we need to talk about fishers and fisher folk who are doing these things. So thank you for using your platform to create that advocacy. Drea, if I can turn to you, when we last spoke, the power of storytelling is so important to you. It's about your personal experiences. It's about Nigeria. It's about the people you know. Can you talk about why you decided to sort of come from this personal space to tell these stories?
It's so easy to storytell when it's something that connects with you. So what I know is my culture. What I know is my background, my heritage, and what I'm proud of and I'm passionate about is the continent. So if you watch my videos, I use a lot of humor. I'm more funny. I should crack a joke right now. But I use humor to amplify my African culture. And when I backtracked to when I first moved to America, I was a subject of bullying, right? Mm-hmm. Not only because I'm a tall girl. If I stand up right now, I'm 6'2", but also because I had an accent. So right now, my platform is kind of like speaking to younger Drea to like I'm just telling stories about my culture, my heritage, things I'm proud of, and it resonates to a lot of people. Because when you tell stories that if people can resonate, people feel emotion, people feel more connected when they hear a story that somehow they can find a way to connect to them with themselves. I'll give an example of a campaign I did online with HP. They were amplifying how they're more sustainable, right, to help the climate. And I was like, okay, I'm not like Bailey. I don't go into oceans. I can't swim. I need a life jacket. But what I do know, I can think about what was sustainable to me is in my family, my grandma, when we have plastic bags, instead of throwing it away, she will give me this. I need to use this as a trash bag. We use it as a trash bag. Or bottles, instead of throwing it away, we will use it to put spices in there or peanuts, and that's my version of sustainability. So I made a video about that, and the comments were like, oh my gosh, wait a minute. My family too, we recycle. We use the Tupperware. We, instead of throwing away the ice cream Tupperware, my mom will put soup in it. Or my Latina mom does this, or my Hispanic, my Asian grandma would do this. And that way of storytelling connected people.
Yeah.
It made them resonate. And then it leads them to that hashtag of being sustainable. And now the conversation begins. So that's why storytelling is so important. You can go online and tell them, hey, WFP, we're feeding this, we're doing that. Or you can create a story, bring them to, I love how Barron told the story of the lady in, was it Kenya, or I forgot where exactly it was, but how she talked about how WFP had helped her. If not for WFP, only God knows where she would be. And that connected with me because I think about people back home, how outside resources can help and change someone's life, the impact you can make. So storytelling, especially online, will connect with someone and make them want to join the conversation versus just posting the statistics. Yeah.
Andrea, you mentioned humor. You're a comedian, and I want you to talk about how humor connects to people and how when we're talking about these serious issues, it's really effective to not make jokes, but have that sort of humor part of it to really speak to people and get to their hearts.
Yeah, because it lightens up the mood. When we're talking about hunger, is not something that's that's happy. It's actually a sad topic. So if you think about how you can make some type of entertainment that can also be a video that's educational and also entertaining at the same time. I was actually looking on TikTok on about world hunger and everything, and I saw this video of this person. He was dancing to a song of his previous artist. It was two artists that collaborated together, and in the title, text on the screen, it said, if these two artists come back together and bring out another track, this will solve climate change, world hunger, peace, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, that's totally bizarre. It's not true, but it's funny, right? Because then now I'm like, oh wait, world hunger. I can click on the hashtag and I'm like, okay, what are people talking about that? So using humor in a way, it lightens up the situation. Everyone can connect to having a laugh. Laugh is like the free medicine,
Yeah, it is free medicine.
Laughter is a free medicine.
That's great. In the same way, Maddy and Manolo, I mentioned chefs are such great advocates for these issues. Coming from the culinary world, I wonder how you use, that language, that vernacular, those semantics to communicate issues about hunger. Manolo, Maddy, whichever, whoever.
You want to kick it off?
Sure. Well, it's. I don't have a good answer for you, unfortunately, because I'm co-founder of a Hispanic food brand called Toma. We specialize in Latino foods because that's our demographic. That's what we want to go to. People who are usually just eat at home because it's cheaper and it's better and all that kind of. So our idea was to make this mass-produced product that is healthy, the best ingredients that we can at a price point that is accessible. So the grocery stores that we'll be into next year are all very, very accessible. You know, we're not doing the fancy Whole Foods. We're not doing the Erewhons of the world. We're doing like Walmarts, right? Because we want that for everybody. But we're also not a small mom and pop farm to table operation. We're made in a factory in Florida. We're mass produced. We can do 2 million empanadas a day.
Wow.
Right? So as much as I want to help the world, I'm also part of the problem, right? Unfortunately, because as much as you don't want to be, you know, part in this global machine, you kind of have to, because otherwise that is the world that we live in, right? So the idea that I'm trying to do is kind of balance that out with you know, you know what I'm trying to say?
No, you
Sorry,
have to,
I'm losing my thought a little.
You absolutely,
But
no,
you
you're
have to
absolutely
balance
making
that out
sense.
a little.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And the way we do that is, so now we're trying to get into academica, where we're trying to make empanadas that are perfectly balanced nutritionally for the kids, and then that would in South Florida.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
at a fraction of the cost of what
Right.
the academica is paying now, so that it's available for more kids.
That accessibility and affordability is central to all of this, and so I don't think you're part of the problem.
But, thank you, but we kind of are. You know, I don't think anyone's going to sit around and saying, oh yeah, you know, mass-produced food is great for the environment, great for everything. You know, as much as we do try to offset that and use the best ingredients and be organic and all that kind of stuff, it's, you know, we are still part of this system. So aside just from our messaging and our packaging and how we're trying to be sustainable, and we use things that are recyclable, and we try not to waste, and we use every part of the chicken and all that kind of stuff, it's more about actually doing than just announcing that what we are and what we do.
Sure,
right?
Sure. No, thank you for all that. And thank you for being so honest and transparent. We don't hear that. I mean, I talk to a lot of food companies, dude, and like they are not honest and transparent. And I mean, I don't want to say they lie, but they do. And so the idea that you're, you know, so blunt, that radical transparency, that really blunt honesty, that's so refreshing, and it's so great to hear on a panel like this, because I don't get to talk to folks like that often. So thank you for me, for being, I'm being very selfish, but thank you. Give him a round of applause, please. I love it. Maddy, I'd love to hear from you on this issue. You know, and again, it's language, semantics.
Yeah.
How do you use what you know is already in your head to advocate?
Yeah, I think honestly what Drea spoke about of the storytelling and creating content that's so natural and organic, and you're conveying a message in that content, but it's not a message that you're necessarily even like thinking about, like, today I'm going to be making a video about, you know, sustainable food practices and ways to reduce, reuse, recycle. Like you, Drea, were talking about a video where it's like, this is what I do with like the jars and stuff. And yes, it's about sustainability at its core, but you're talking about something real and personal that relates to your family, and that's what people relate to. So how kind of I am thinking about now this question with kind of Drea's little anecdote there, it's very similar, because when, you know, I'm sharing either a day in the life of a private chef or a recipe video, I, you know, as a private chef, I do all the grocery shopping for the family, and I'm talking right now on a very micro scale. It's, you know, shopping for one family at a time, but I am constantly thinking about like, what do I need to buy, and only purchasing what I need. And then when I'm cooking with what I've purchased, using all parts of that, you know, saving the scraps for a soup stock, all that type of thing, all of those types of things. And there's lots of different ways you can work as a private chef. You can work as kind of more event-based. You're kind of constantly changing clients. In my experience, I've worked with one family at a time, and I love this for a few reasons. I love being able to personally know the people and get to know them really well. But when I think about it from a sustainability perspective, I can get super creative with leftovers. So I'm not just with them for one day.
Right.
I'm making dinner for them, or maybe I'm doing a big dinner party, and then the next day I'm coming back and I get to, you know, create little leftover creations that they don't even know I'm like using the leftovers in, which is really cool. And then the amplification piece comes when I'm creating content and I'm talking about, this is what I made as a private chef, and I use the leftovers to make this cool thing. And even if people aren't going home and saying, I'm going to make this exact recipe, because I honestly want to be a lot better about posting actual recipes, but I hope that people can at least take that inspiration of thinking creatively about food and using ingredients in different ways in new combinations.
Right.
And even if, day to day, I'm working with one family, if sharing the content can inspire, that's, I think, great.
That inspiration is so important, and that experimenting that you're doing and then showing other people how to do it is so cool, especially when we're talking about food loss and food waste, because that's such a huge problem across the world. So it's really inspiring to hear that. So thank you so much for sharing. I want to talk to you all because you're sharing content online about the responses that you get. And sometimes I imagine that they're not always positive, although you're all the coolest people I've ever met. But I imagine sometimes that there's responses that are hard to sort of figure out. And how do you respond to negativity? And then how do you take learnings from that and move forward? And Drea, I don't know if you want to go first.
Okay. Yeah, sure, I'll go first. Negativity. I think my videos don't get negative responses until it's outside of my community. Because most of the times when I'm making videos, I know it's going to connect to my audience, and it's for my audience. And when it goes viral, it's like a bunch of people that don't need to have opinions start having opinions.
That's so true.
One thought that comes to my mind is a video I posted when I went to Nigeria. So 3 years ago, maybe it's 4 years now, time is flying by, but I did a community service called National Youth Service Corps. And you go and you serve your country. Everyone that graduates from Nigeria has to do NYSC. And I ended up teaching in a school, and I had a group of students that, they love me and I love them so much. And I left, came back to America, and it was 3 years later, I finally went back to Nigeria, and I'm like, I'm not gonna just come back and say, hi, kids. I wanna throw them a big celebration, because the place I served was in a rural community. Average income is $30 a month. So you can imagine poverty. The parents, during the holidays, are not thinking about giving their kids Christmas gifts. They're thinking about, like, where am I gonna get money to give them their next meal? So I said, I want to wipe away the sorrows and just give them a one day of this fun, bouncy house, Christmas, Santa's there, food, everything. And it was a great celebration. And I told myself, this time around, you have to share on social media. My family, we do a lot of philanthropy work, but we don't share. But I think it helps to share, because then you get to create awareness, and you get to also have people want to join in and also help somehow. So I posted about it because, again, the biggest thing I told you about my country, I love promoting my country in the best way. And posting about poverty, even though there's a lot of rich Nigerians, but also our economy is really bad, government conflict, a lot of war, everything's happening, so a lot of people are suffering. And I was like, I have to share the suffering. I don't want to show it, but I did, because I wanted to show that part. And then there was one person in the comment section that was like, Nigeria, you're going to start making people think Nigeria is so poor. And I'm like, oh man, that was not my goal. My goal is to just show the happiness on the people's faces, and how the bit of money that I've made with social media, I'm able to put and pour back into people. I wanted to show people, like, you can make an impact somehow. So that negative comment, that's what popped in my mind when you talked about negative comment. And I think it's okay to get negative comments, because that one negative comment, that 3, 4, 5 negative comments are not as big as the impact you're gonna make when you do good things. When an organization is making an impact and changing lives, What I did with that school, the feedback I got from the parents, the principal was telling me, like, listen, till this day, Drea, they're still talking about it, because if not for you, they would not have had a meal that day. If not for you, that smile, the kids were happy for the whole week. So I think about the impact that I could make through my platform, and it's bigger than what negative comment I can get.
Absolutely. Bravo. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bailey, how do you respond, whether it's positive or negative, to the responses you get online?
I think Drea said something that we all are going to agree with. When it's our community, when it's our fan base that we've built, they're so supportive, so kind, and really want to be involved in what we're involved with, which is why we're here, is because we have a platform of followers and people that really care about what we have to say. So I think it definitely inspires me to keep going, and it uplifts me. But I think what's important to remember is to make this about a people. This isn't about what WFP does is about people. It's not about government. Like, yes, it's a crisis, but we have to talk about those individual stories. And I think Barron did an incredible job of talking about those individual people that he met. And once we do that and say, okay, personally, my experience is I grew up on food stamps, and that was I'm so grateful for that, because that was able to take that financial burden off my family, off my single mother, and I'm so grateful for that. Sharing those personal experiences that I actually had aid, and that helped me so much, and now we actually have a platform where we can help other people.
Yeah, that lived experience is so important, and it helps people relate to you, and I can see how your fan base gets you and understands what you're trying to do. Manolo, how do you respond to both the good and the bad on social media?
I mean, most of my negative comments actually come from within my community. My family, actually, mostly. Or maybe it's just a Latino thing. I don't know. No, I mean, listen, there's always going to be somebody there that just has to say something just to say something. Like, doesn't matter what you post. I can post a picture of my dog napping, and the first comment would be, "That bed looks uncomfortable." It has nothing to do with what you're posting. It has nothing to do with you. It's more about them. And like, people also they don't care what you're posting. I could post right now saying, "At the food tank event," people would post, "Where are you? What is this?" Just because it's not really about it's not really about that. So all the negative comments that I have received is just people feeling the need to make their voice heard in a really negative way. You know, when we announced this, I did get one comment that was, these four are now together. You know, world hunger has been solved. You know, kind of like that. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, all right. But it's also like, I get what you're saying. You don't have to say it this way.
Right.
You're also misunderstanding the whole point of this.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely.
You know? But it's also like, that is exactly the kind of thing that we need to educate, I guess. Like, we're not a task force. This isn't the Avengers. We're not here to, we're here to spread out the message.
I don't know, I think you're superheroes.
You know? So just, I don't know. But I've also, with who my mother is, growing up the way that I grew up, maybe I'm just more used to it. Maybe I'm just learned how to deflect that kind of stuff.
And if she's the one criticizing you.
Well, that's that one I still haven't been able to deflect, but everybody else I can. Yeah, it's just, unfortunately, it's just a sad part of life that whenever you're doing anything, somebody just has to knock you down.
But the important part is you have this platform, and there's not always negativity, and there's this great stuff that happens to you.
It's half a percent of negativity.
Yeah.
So it's usually just that one person ruining their own day. So
Exactly.
You do you guys.
No, and building off of that, I think like if someone wants to comment something snarky or outright negative, like they're gonna do that no matter what you post. I think I like welcome criticism, or I guess questioning. So I'm thinking about this person who said, "Oh, these four are together, like, world hunger solved." They could have reframed that as like, "Oh, curious, like what actionable things you guys are going to be doing to contribute."
Well, it's also like, what are they doing?
Yes, yes, that's true too. No, 100%. But I think that's like if all the internet negativity was reframed to like curiosity, question, like maybe you don't agree, but like tell me more. Or, like I don't really get this. God, it'd just be like so much better, like really so much better and more productive. Because the thing is, what is that negative comment doing? It makes you like shut down. It makes you not want to share things. Be honest. It completely stunts.
But it does raise our engagement technically, so I guess
That's
it is a
true.
good thing.
That's
so
true.
bring on the negative comments. It's fine.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see your feed after this.
My grandma typing furiously.
This is a question for all of you, because I feel like it's only recently, over the last 4 or 5 years, that the older folks, people like me, but not like me, but people like me, who have understood the connection between the climate crisis and hunger. And I'm wondering how you communicate that to your audience, because as WFP ambassadors and activists and advocates, that's part of your role. And how do you make that connection for people in a way that they understand? Because for a lot of people it's really difficult. They just don't get it.
I think what's in the climate community, we're all aware of what the climate crisis is doing and how that's affecting communities all around the world. But I think what people need to understand is when our Earth is getting hotter and we're getting hurricanes, we're experiencing, a random tsunami that no one even detected because this wasn't supposed to happen.
Right.
When we're having wildfires and communities are being broken down, they're losing everything. I've seen people that were at the top of their lives and then lose their homes. When you lose your home, you have nowhere to live. That fund, that home that was paid off, that you were okay, all you have to focus on is work and continuing your life.
Yeah.
Now you have this financial burden. So now you have to figure out, okay, all that money that was going to something else, now I have to think, how am I going to afford food? And that is something that no one should have to deal with. And because of the climate crisis, because of all of these natural disasters that frankly can be avoided.
Absolutely. They're not natural.
Because of that, we're experiencing so many people in severe pain, and hunger is something that honestly can be so avoided and can be prevented.
Thank you, Bailey. Would anyone else like to comment? Thanks, Drea.
I think for organizations, because I think there's a lot of organizations in the room, not just WFP, but I think a good takeaway, because I've been on social media for years. I'm a veteran there. I think it's important. I know whenever you're excited about giving out data, it can be overwhelming for people on social media to consume. So when you're on social media, to really make it get to the right new audience you want to, you have to figure out a way to make your content digestible, right? Whether it involves using green screens to share data and have someone talk in an engaging way, storytell, like how I mentioned earlier, using text on screen, using images, because that's where I know a lot of us want to target the younger folks. The younger folks, they resonate more with content that's, when you make it digestible in their language that they can understand. So that's what I think about when it comes to sharing and advocating for whatever you want to online. Think about how you can connect with people. I always think about the 3 E's. Content is if it's educational, if it's entertaining, or if it's emotionally provoking. That's how people can connect with it. So if you can touch one or all those 3 E's in your content, they're going to pour into your organization one way or another.
Absolutely. Great.
It's true.
Great
And
story,
one
Tom.
thing I'll add is I think there's a disconnect between the numbers we're saying and people actually understanding what those numbers mean. For example, 750 million people are hungry, are facing hunger. What does that even mean? Okay, that's 2.5 Americas. If you put it into perspective, if you're explaining it in a way that people can understand, it becomes more digestible.
Absolutely. Good words.
So I actually really digested that right now. I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot. Oh, my gosh.
And on the flip side of that, we were speaking with Baron before coming on stage, and he said, if I had one takeaway I'd want you guys to walk away from today and being on this council, it's focus on as many of WFP's projects as you'd like, but pick one that resonates with you and share that one thing with your community. And maybe and boil that down even to share one person's story within that program, because you're right, the statistics get lost, and making the comparisons 100% help, but supplementing that with the face and the stories, and that's exactly what Baron was talking about. That's what I think makes it digestible. It's what connects people, and I think it has to be a combination of all of them, I guess.
Granular,
Yeah. Palatability.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's needed in so many ways. I want to end on sort of a call to action from each of you. You have these platforms. You have people who follow you, who believe in you, and what is your advice to them on how they can connect on these issues and use their own platforms to make a difference? I'm going to start at the end.
Okay. I feel like a through line of my content is this genuine sense of like, we're figuring this out together. Like I'm a chef, but even saying like I'm a chef, I feel like a little bit of imposter syndrome saying that, because it's been 1 year, honestly, in this industry, and I know I have so much to learn. And I'm constantly saying that on social media over and over again. And I think that's one of the reasons I've been able to build the community and platform that I have. So I would say, you know, you don't need to be the expert to be interested and to care about this and to learn more today. I am sitting here not as I am sitting here not as an expert, but as someone who cares about this and wants to learn more. We've heard from so many experts, and I am going to continue to learn, and I invite anyone to do the same with me.
The honesty is so awesome. Thank you, Manolo.
Granular. Again, just be granular in everything that you do, and if you're posting about something you advocate for, just be granular about it, because that's how you connect. You know, as you were saying, these big numbers, they kind of get lost in like the mind.
Yeah.
You know, go for one person, one child, one dog, if you know animals are your thing. You know, just be granular, and also for the environment. You know, as you were saying, all it takes is, you know, reuse a shopping bag a few times. Granular little things, and that can make a big difference. You know, we get kind of scared with like the big picture and big ideas, and looks, well, I'm never gonna make any difference because it's just 750 million people. That's too much. But if you get granular about it, those grains add up.
It's step by step.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love it, Bailey.
You have 9 seconds, Bailey.
Oh, she doesn't. I'm in control here, Manolo.
I think what's important to remember, you know, I've been told you can't change the world many times growing up, many times. And it's so hard to hear, but I would hear that and be like, that can't be true. It can't. You know, of course it can't just be me. It takes communities, it takes effort, it takes drive, it takes persistence, but it can happen. So when someone says you can't change the world, I would combat that with watch me.
Bravo, friend, bravo. I love it. Drea, last word.
I have 0 seconds.
No, you have as many as you want. I got you.
They all said it perfectly. I think mine was very short and sweet. Like, you don't have to do the biggest thing as long as you're making effort, some type of effort to make an impact, whether it is in your homes, whether it is in a school, whether it is wherever you are. And also, you don't have to have a massive influence to make an impact. You can start small, and that small you're doing is good enough. And that's what I'll leave y'all with. So let's start.
You are all superstars. You are all changing the world. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Just stay where you are. We're about to end. I just want to wrap up. It's been such an incredible morning. I'm so inspired. I want to thank all the speakers. Give them another round of applause, please. I hope you all feel empowered and you know, can find your place in this movement. For everyone watching today, the World Food Program offers a number of ways to get involved, whether you're taking your first step to become an advocate or have been working on these issues for decades. So there's a QR code over here that you can scan that will give you a lot more opportunities to become engaged with WFP USA. And again, everyone has a role to play on these issues, however small it is, however big it is. I want to take another moment to thank WNYC for hosting us. These guys in the back are just making everything easy. Thank you. I want to thank our wonderful partners at World Food Program USA. They've just been delightful to work with and so easy and wonderful and brought such incredible folks to the stage. So give them a round of applause, please.